You've driven through these cities before. You've seen the skyline at sunset, the polished glass towers, the bustling cafes and glowing casino signs, the outward promise of opportunity. But now, beneath the neon lights and behind the headlines, there's a quieter truth lurking in the shadows. America's cities are collapsing, not from war, not from natural disaster, but from a crisis we built with our own silence. Homelessness, not just visible now, explosive, unignorable, a national emergency unfolding in real time, block by block, tent by tent, person by person. And the truth is, you've seen it. We all have. We just haven't truly looked. Until now, because what's happening in places like Sacramento and Las Vegas isn't isolated. It's a warning, a signal that America's social fabric, the one we took for granted, is fraying at every edge. If you're still watching, you know the truth matters, so join us, subscribe, and keep it alive. Let's start in Sacramento, California, once the polished political capital of the world's fourth largest economy, now struggling to hold its seams together. As of 2024, over 9,200 people are experiencing homelessness in this city alone, and nearly 10% of them are dealing with disabilities or serious mental health issues. Conditions that require urgent care, not concrete sidewalks. But what do they get instead? Waiting lists, underfunded programs, psychiatric hospitals bursting at capacity, community beds that run out before dusk. The city keeps announcing new plans, new budgets, new initiatives, and yet the tents keep multiplying. The shelters fill up, the people vanish into alleys, under bridges, behind dumpsters. And where do they turn? Churches, makeshift mutual aid groups, kind strangers. Because while officials debate zoning regulations and PR optics, it's often faith communities and volunteers, not policymakers, who are feeding, sheltering, and listening. Sacramento tells a story we don't like to admit. You can fund a policy, but if you don't fund people, it doesn't matter. Now head east to Las Vegas, Nevada, the City of Lights, the American Illusion Factory. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? Not anymore. Because what's happening under the surface, literally under the Strip, is devastating. In the city's underground flood drainage tunnels, over 1,000 people are living in darkness. No daylight, no addresses, no laws, no help. The unofficial underground city of Las Vegas is a haunting contradiction to the opulence above, where billion-dollar casinos pump music into the desert sky while families eat canned beans beneath their feet. These people, they don't even exist in the official homelessness count. They're invisible. They've been erased. No record, no ID, no place to return mail. You think of the tourists lined up at the Bellagio, watching fountains dance to Sinatra, and then you think of the man sleeping 40 feet below them, shivering next to a drain pipe. That's America now, a country where luxury and neglect live on top of each other and pretend not to notice. But it's not just Sacramento and Vegas. This is spreading, cracking through the surface of city after city, revealing just how deeply inequality has taken root. Let's go north. Portland, Oregon, a city once known for arts, green space, and open-mindedness, now battling a homelessness explosion that has transformed entire neighborhoods. The city's progressive image can't hide the fact that thousands are sleeping rough with no realistic path back. Addiction, untreated mental illness, and record housing prices are merging into a perfect storm, and the system is overwhelmed. In Portland, even middle-class families are one rent increase away from the streets. One, that's all it takes. Now down to Phoenix, Arizona, a city where summer heat isn't just uncomfortable, it's deadly. People are dying on sidewalks, literally, from exposure, from dehydration, from being seen, but not helped. The state's own medical examiners have reported unclaimed bodies every summer, many of them homeless, many never even identified. How does this happen in a country this rich? Because somewhere along the way, we decided that housing was an investment vehicle, not a human need. And so here we are. You hear people ask, why don't they just get help? But what help? Try calling for a shelter bed in any of these cities. You'll be told the same thing. We're full. Try again tomorrow. Try applying for a housing voucher. You'll wait 6 months, maybe 6 years. Try getting mental health treatment. If you don't have insurance, good luck. This system isn't broken. It was built this way. And it's not just big cities anymore. In Reno, in Boise, in Salt Lake City, homelessness is growing faster than shelters can expand. Smaller cities are no longer safe havens. They become overflow zones, absorbing the fallout from policy failures everywhere else. Even Austin, Texas, once the shining example of urban prosperity in the South, is seeing explosive growth in street homelessness. People who once had jobs in tech or tourism are now sleeping in tents along riversides, as rental prices outpace wages by double digits. And don't forget Chicago. Yes, one of the biggest and wealthiest cities in the Midwest, where despite new housing efforts, over 65,000 residents experience homelessness every year, many of them families. That's right, children. Entire families living out of their cars, or crammed into single motel rooms for months on end. So what's really collapsing? Not just shelters, not just housing stock. What's collapsing is the illusion, the myth that America is a place where if you work hard, you'll be okay. That myth is unraveling in every city where someone's mother is sleeping on a park bench after stroke, may or too slow to keep her job. That myth is cracking in every place where a young vet comes home from service and ends up in a Walmart parking lot, begging for gas money. That myth is dying in every tent city rising along sidewalks, rail yards, riverbanks, in full view and yet ignored, because what's collapsing isn't just cities, it's the social contract. And the question is, what do we do about it? The video asks, who's responsible? Is it the government? Absolutely. Policy after policy has prioritized corporate profit over human need. Housing has been deregulated, defunded, and turned into a commodity. Mental health care was gutted. Safety nets turned to spiderwebs. Bureaucracy ballooned while compassion shrank. But it's not just government. It's also us. It's the way we dehumanize the poor. It's the way we justify inequality by blaming individuals for structural failings. It's the way we've been trained to fear the homeless rather than fear the system that creates them. And until that changes, until we replace shame with empathy, walls with bridges, policy memos with action, this will keep happening. City by city, street by street, collapse by collapse. The video doesn't offer cheap answers, because there aren't any, but it does offer a mirror. It says, look, really look, at your city, your block, your heart, because this crisis isn't out there. It's right here. And we can't fix what we refuse to face. So here we are, 10 cities, thousands of tents, miles of asphalt where homes used to stand, a nation staring into its own reflection and realizing it no longer recognizes a person staring back. This wasn't a sudden disaster. It didn't arrive like a hurricane. It crept in policy by policy, year by year, cut by cut. It came in the form of rent hikes and evictions, in shuttered psychiatric clinics, in tax breaks for luxury condos and red tape for shelter approvals. It came quietly, and now it's screaming. The collapse of cities into homelessness isn't a mystery. It's a consequence. It's what happens when you treat housing as an investment first and a human right last. When you criminalize the symptom instead of healing the disease. When you tell people to just get a job in a world where minimum wage can't afford a single-bedroom apartment in any state in the country. And let's be honest, we've been comfortable with this contradiction for a long time. We've accepted that in the richest country in the world, hundreds of thousands sleep in the streets, while others buy designer doghouses. That CEOs take home 8 figures while teachers, nurses, and veterans live in their cars. That there are entire neighborhoods with more Airbnbs and affordable apartments. Why? Because we've been told this is how it works. That capitalism has winners and losers. That some people just don't try hard enough. But the truth? No one tries harder than the unhoused. They try every day to survive, to eat, to not freeze, to not be assaulted, to not lose hope. They try to get back on their feet in a society that has sawn off the ladder and thrown the rungs into the ocean. And still they get blamed. They're called lazy, dangerous, dirty, They're turned into monsters in the media, voted out of neighborhoods, swept from sight, as if the problem is their visibility, not their vulnerability. Let's talk about those sweeps. You've seen the footage. City trucks rolling in at dawn, police officers in riot gear, sanitation workers in hazmat suits throwing away sleeping bags, baby strollers, prescription meds. The people told to move along. To where? To a different sidewalk? A different alley? A jail cell? That's not a solution. That's a cover-up, a performance, something to show voters. A photo op to claim action was taken, even as the problem grows deeper and deadlier. We don't call it what it is, state-sanctioned displacement, and yet we cheer it because we're scared. Scared that if we look too closely, we might see ourselves in the eyes of the people we're shoving aside. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not as far from homelessness as you think. All it takes is one medical crisis, one job loss, one divorce, one accident, one missed paycheck, one landlord who decides to sell. The people sleeping on cardboard downtown, most of them were once like you. Rents paid, jobs held, plans made, hope intact. Now, erased, not by their failure, but by a society that decided their worth expired the moment their income did. And the systems designed to help? They're exhausted. Shelters are full. Vouchers are delayed. Case managers carry impossible caseloads. Emergency rooms have become mental health facilities. Libraries are daycare centers for families with no other place to go. The people holding this broken web together, social workers, outreach teams, volunteers, are burning out faster than we can replace them. Meanwhile, funding gets tied up in bureaucracy. Cities launch task forces and hire consultants. Studies are commissioned. Reports are shelved. Years pass, and on the streets, people die. Every year, thousands of people experiencing homelessness die from preventable causes. Exposure, violence, infection, starvation. They don't get headlines. They don't get vigils. They get buried in unmarked graves, or not at all. But let's ask the most important question. Does it have to be this way? No, because the truth is we've solved bigger problems. We put men on the moon, built cities in deserts, invented cures for incurable diseases. We mobilized trillions in weeks when Wall Street needed a bailout. This crisis isn't unsolvable. It's just inconvenient. It demands the one thing America seems to have run out of: political will. Because fixing homelessness isn't about genius. It's about priorities. It's about deciding that we will no longer accept a society where people are punished for being poor. It's about building housing, not just for profit, but for people. It's about funding mental health care, like we fund police departments. It's about protecting tenants, regulating rents, closing loopholes that let landlords evict good people with no cause. It's about investing not in more prisons and sweeps, but in wraparound services, housing, treatment, job training, community. It's about listening to the people who live this crisis every day and putting their voices at the center of every decision made. And you have a role in this, too, because you're a voter, a taxpayer, a neighbor, a human being. You can show up, you can speak up, you can challenge the myths, support the solutions, and stop pretending this is someone else's problem. Because the truth is, this crisis belongs to all of us. And the solution? It starts with what we're willing to see and what we're willing to change. Picture this. You walk through your city in 5 years. The tents are gone, not because they were cleared, but because people no longer needed them. There are tiny home villages, permanent supportive housing, buildings reclaimed from vacancies, restored with dignity and intention, mental health clinics where wait lists are short and care is long-term, transitional housing where people rebuild, with privacy, with safety, with help, children laughing outside their new apartments, parents who finally sleep through the night without fear, veterans who aren't discarded, elders who aren't alone. Imagine cities where compassion is policy, not just charity, where no one sleeps on concrete because they didn't try hard enough, where we recognize that homelessness isn't a reflection of character, but of a society's choices. You look around this future and it's not perfect, but it's hopeful, it's human, and most of all, It's possible. But to get there, we need courage, not just from politicians, but from each other. Courage to say, enough is enough. Courage to choose homes over headlines, services over sound bites, people over profit. Courage to ask not, how did this happen? But what can I do now? Because every tent on the sidewalk is a policy decision. Every unclaimed body is a failure of vision. And every person who survives another night outside is a reminder that we are not doing enough. Not yet. So the next time you walk by someone living on the street, don't look away. Look at what we become and what we could still be, because this story isn't finished. And you are part of how it ends. You didn't grow up thinking this was normal. You weren't raised to believe that thousands of people living in tents, storm drains, or cars was just how cities work. You were taught to believe in fairness, in helping your neighbor, in a social contract. Unspoken, maybe, but understood. And yet, somewhere along the way, the contract got rewritten. You saw it slowly at first. A tent near the freeway on-ramp, a man sleeping in the bus shelter, a woman outside the grocery store, holding a cardboard sign so neatly written it almost hurt to read. Then you saw it become permanent. Encampments turning into whole neighborhoods. Streets lined with tarps, generators humming, shopping carts chained together like fences, not just in one city, in all of them, not just for a few months, for years. And still people said, we're working on it. They said solutions take time. They said, it's not that bad. But you know what you saw, and what you still see. You see cities choosing aesthetics over humanity, passing laws against camping, sitting, loitering, panhandling. Criminalizing poverty with the elegance of a press release, sweeping people from one corner to the next like garbage, as if the issue is where they're visible, not why they're suffering. And you ask yourself, when did we become okay with this? You want to believe people care. You really do. But then you scroll past another article. City to spend $3 million on security fencing to deter homeless from downtown square. Or another budget item. $500,000 allocated to anti-graffiti drones near high-end commercial zones. Meanwhile, the shelter down the street shuts its doors 2 nights a week because it can't afford overnight staff. The priorities are screaming, and you don't like what they're saying, because what they reveal is that comfort for the housed still ranks higher than shelter for the unhoused. That storefront appeal still matters more than street-level survival. And behind every dollar misspent is a decision. Someone said yes to this and no to them. But let's talk about what's truly at risk. Because this isn't just about today. This is about a generation of children growing up in cars, hotels, shelters, and nowhere at all. It's about kids doing homework by flashlight in a borrowed minivan. It's about teenagers hiding the truth from their friends because they're too ashamed to say, I don't have an address. It's about college students sleeping in libraries and seniors discharged from hospitals straight into the street. This is about lives being shaped by instability, day after day, year after year. And the trauma that doesn't just fade when you finally get a roof over your head. You want to know what homelessness really costs? It costs childhoods. It costs dignity. It costs trust in society. And it doesn't end when you get housing, because the shame stays. The fear lingers. The belief that you are disposable, that never really leaves. Some people say, well, at least the numbers are being counted now. Yes, that's true, but what are we counting? Point-in-time counts that miss half the population? Surveys that exclude people living in vehicles or crashing on couches? Definitions of homelessness that ignore instability, trauma, and fear? The numbers are incomplete, and still they're staggering. So imagine what they would look like if we actually saw everyone. Imagine if we counted those hiding in abandoned buildings, the women avoiding shelters out of fear, the youth trading safety for survival. Imagine if we didn't need a number to care. Because that's what this comes down to, what we choose to care about. You care, or you wouldn't be reading this. But what does caring look like now? It can't just be outrage. That burns out. It can't just be sympathy. That paralyzes. It has to be commitment, strategy, pressure. It means holding your leaders accountable, every mayor, every council member, every housing board, every governor. It means showing up at meetings, not just marches, reading budget proposals, not just headlines, asking not, what will it cost to fix this, but what does it cost if we don't? It means demanding permanent supportive housing, not just emergency shelters. It means demanding tenant protections, rent stabilization, and eviction prevention, not just luxury zoning incentives and real estate loopholes. It means saying loudly and often, housing is a right, not a luxury, not a reward, a right. And if that scares people, good, because maybe it's time for fear to work in favor of justice for once. You know what else it means? It means redefining success. Because right now, cities celebrate when they move people from the sidewalk into a motel room, or when they reduce visibility of encampments, or when they add 20 new shelter beds, even though 1,000 people are still waiting. But real success is when people don't fear winter, is when families don't have to choose between food and rent, is when Black, brown, indigenous, disabled, queer, trans, and formerly incarcerated people aren't disproportionately shoved to margins and left there. Real success is dignity, not numbers. And if we don't center that in every decision we make, we will keep failing. Some people still ask, but won't housing the homeless cost billions? And the answer is yes. But do you know what costs more? Doing nothing. Every ER visit, every jail stay, every encampment sweep, every police overtime shift. Those are all bills we're already paying. We are already spending billions to fail. So what would it look like to spend billions to succeed? Imagine that. Cities funded to build actual permanent housing, not just shelters, but homes with doors that lock, fridges that hum, windows that open to sunlight, communities designed with wraparound services, case managers, therapists, job training, harm reduction, connection, not punishment, not isolation, care, because when people have stable homes, their health improves, their stress drops, their odds of employment rise, their dignity returns. And when people are housed, truly housed, they don't just survive, they start to live again. You've seen it, maybe not everywhere, but it happens. In a quiet corner of Sacramento, a man who lived under a bridge now runs a small bakery, employing 2 others who were once unhoused. In Las Vegas, a woman who spent 3 years in the tunnels now works as a case navigator, helping others climb the same ladder she once needed. These stories don't make national headlines, but they should, because they show what's possible when we stop managing homelessness and start ending it, one person at a time, one building at a time, one budget at a time. The collapse of American cities isn't just about concrete and tents. It's about conscience, about what we allow, what we excuse, what we fund, what we forget. But it's not too late. This crisis was inevitable, and it's not permanent. It was built, which means it can be undone, but only if we're willing to fight for it. Not just the loudest voices, not just the biggest cities, but all of us, every neighborhood, every zip code, every person who knows deep down, this is not who we're supposed to be. So look around your city, your street, your heart, and ask yourself, what kind of place are we building? What kind of people are we becoming? And most of all, what will we do, not tomorrow, not someday, but now? Because the tents are rising, the shelters are full, the weather is changing, the time is gone.